This is Fox 5 News Morning.
We're still ahead. An all-new edition of Ask Tony and Tucker. And this morning we are bringing in some outside experts you do not want to miss.
Some adorable ones.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for this week's Ask Tony and Tucker. Yes, indeed. Today's question comes via Twitter from Cutter. Cutter wanted to know, why do smaller dogs live longer than larger dogs? This is totally opposite from the rest of the animal kingdom, isn't it? Okay. This is not something that I had ever heard of. Tucker, had you heard this before?
Well, I mean, I guess I just had heard about it because of the experience I've had with dogs in my life. And the bigger dogs lived to be 10 or 12. And, you know, my mother's had smaller dogs that lived to be 14 or 16. So, you know, I guess that maybe I realized it, but I had never thought about it.
All right. Well, we are not professionals, so we wanted to go right to the source, Tucker.
Yeah, we called in the big guns, right? Yes.
Way bigger than us.
Yeah. Our good friend, Dr. Aaron Cryan, the owner and chief veterinarian at NoVa Mobile Vet, and some of his furry friends. Jim here has Bliss, and let's see, Bonnie has Kona.
Correct.
Right? Is that right? Kona is a miniature schnauzer.
So cute.
And what is Bliss?
Bliss is mostly a lab with some golden retrievers. She's my CNI dog reject.
Gotcha. They're both beautiful dogs. So I was unaware of this. Is that in fact true?
Yeah, you know, you hit it pretty much nail on the head as far as age ranges and that sort of thing. You know, basically, amongst different animal species, especially mammals, the larger ones tend to live longer. So your mouse has a shorter lifespan than the fox, you know, than the bear or the mammal.
Like an elephant will live to be 100. Right?
Exactly. You know, the bow whales can live to be like 200. So yeah, some of those big mammals can live a long time.
Okay, so that does not seem to hold true in the dog kingdom.
Well, dogs are just within one species. You know, statistically, the big guys within a species don't tend to last as long as you know, the smaller guys. So Bliss, you know, cover her ears there, Jim, for me. You know, her lifespan would typically be around what you said, but the little guys can last longer. You know, what they kind of think is the bigger people and dogs, you know, their biological clock is a little quicker to get them to grow bigger, and because of that, they age a little quicker. And within dogs, they have more orthopedic problems and other problems.
Let me ask you a question. Does the heart have anything to do with that? I know when we think about people, frequently they say, well, if you're a heavy-set person, your heart is having to work more. Does that factor in with dogs?
Good question. While they do have a lot of cardiovascular difficulties and heart disease when they get older, theirs is different than people. They don't have their arteriosclerosis and the buildup of, you know, plaque, because they're not around for decades and decades, unfortunately. Again, sorry, Blissy. You know, their other heart disease is related to age. You know, it's not like with people where the bigger people seem to have the heart disease, you know, and so, you know, you guys would be better off than me, and, you know, me, unfortunately, I need to look to, you know, Shaq or Andre the Giant to have, you know, a bigger size frame than me.
Fascinating. Okay, so this is a fascinating question. Are there certain dog species that live the longest, and vice versa? Are there certain species that have a tendency not to last quite as long?
Excellent question. Each breed has their own tendency to have certain health problems. Generally speaking, you know, the mutts, you know, do a little better than the pure breed guys.
Really?
They have what they have, kind of hybrid vigor. You know, you worry about being a, you know, student of histories with the Habsburgs and whatnot, having, you know, the recessive genes kind of can get more problems. So typically speaking, you know, mixing these guys, you know, having mutts, you know, can have less health problems, but every dog's an individual. It's all just statistics. And even the little dogs generally, though, they have a slower, you know, biologic clock, as it were, and tend to last longer.
And finally, just in case someone's watching, they've got an older, bigger dog. These are generalizations that are true, but any individual animal, you know, we hear about animals that live a really long life when you might think they might not.
I'm hoping Bliss, you know, makes it to 100.
Absolutely. Bliss is beautiful.
So, what's the longest that we think a dog can live? Like, what's the upper reaches for a dog?
I have seen dogs that have been, you know, longer than 2 decades. So I've seen dogs that have been in the 20s. It's not common, you know, but and generally they're more the smaller guys, you know, but I certainly have seen that over the years.
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say, I'm not going to lie. Losing my dog's like the most painful.
It's awful.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
The human lifespan is getting longer, and dogs, for the most part, we're treating them better. They're eating more healthily. Are their lifespans getting longer?
Yeah, you know, typically with the advent of, you know, Western medicine, healthy, good health, preventatives, you know, dogs and people with all that hygiene do have an increase of longevity.
What's the one thing you can do to help your dog live a longer life?
don't look at me, keep their weight down, have them see their veterinarian yearly for checkups, keep them on their monthly preventatives, keep them fit and trim, keep them active.
All right.
All right.
Hey, we really appreciate all of you coming to join us. And Bliss. Bliss, you're going
Always
to
a
be
pleasure.
200, Bliss.
Love these dogs. All right, thank you, Dr. Eric.
Thanks for having us.
Stephen Allison, back to you.
It's great advice. And to Tony, to your point, too, it's, look, I've had 2 dogs that were roughly the same size. One only made it 7 or 8 years. The other one made it 16. So, don't lose hope if you have that larger dog. Just keep giving them the love.
I only had one problem with that segment. I love Bliss, but we didn't have enough close-ups on that sweet little miniature.
I know, it's a
snout.
baby.
Can we get another close-up of Kona? Kona
It's a
is
baby
Just
right
for me,
here.
just to get me through the weekend.
I'm partial to...
There you are.
Look at that cute little face.
Oh, my.
Hey, real quick, guys. Hashtag us your questions. Hashtag Ask Tony and Tucker. Is that right, Tony?
That's right. Ask Tony and Tucker.
Hashtag Ask Tony and Tucker. Don't forget, send us your questions. We need good
Awesome.
ones.
Great stuff, guys. And
Thank
thanks to
you.
all the guests for coming in today and helping out.
Absolutely.
Our expert panel. All right.